Is Modi succumbing to Trump's pressure? Well, on the face of it, the answer seems to be no, because Narendra Modi government refuses to accept the Trump's claims. In fact, Trump has claimed for the 61st time that he has stopped India-Pak military confrontation. Government of India has summarily rejected this claim. Well, India refuses to concede to Trump on this front. Well, the India-America trade deal has not yet been finalized. The negotiations are taking place. Trump wants greater market access, especially in the India's agriculture and dairy markets. Narendra Modi government refuses to merge. Even Trump calls Modi a very tough guy and a terrific guy. Well, despite threatening with 50% tariff, the highest tariff on any country on the earth, the only country which has a similar level of tariff is Brazil. So India refuses to concede to Trump's demands. Well, Trump has been forcing India to cut down and stop importing oil from Russia. India is not listening. Well, all these indicate that the Modi government is steadfastly resisting Trump's unprecedented pressure tactics. But this is only a part of the story. Let me tell you the other part of the story. You have seen in today's newspapers, India agreed to buy Javelin missiles and certain projectiles from the United States. The total deal is to the tune of $92 million. Well, it is being touted as an effort to strengthen India's defense and security establishment. I am not denying that, but it is also part of an effort to please Trump. Why is it part of an effort to please Trump? Because Trump is obsessively worried about the trade deficit between India and the United States. What does the trade deficit really mean? India exports more than what it imports from that country. Well, for example, India imports around $41 billion worth goods and exports around $87 billion worth goods. So therefore the trade deficit is to the tune of $46 to $47 billion. Well, China has a much larger trade deficit in its favor, but the way Trump deals with China is completely different. So Trump is making a lot of noise about this trade deficit. So this is an attempt to please Trump, because Trump wants India to import more and more from America. So India has now agreed to import missiles and projectiles from United States. Well, I'm not finding fault with buying from US, but what are the strategic implications of this? Not just missiles and projectiles. When Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited White House in February 2025, early this year, there were even talks about buying the F-35 warplanes. So the question here is, this is a part of a larger trajectory of reducing defense imports from Russia and increasing defense imports from the United States. Well, a few years back, there was hardly any defense import from United States. So now today in United States account for around 10% of India's defense imports. So that shows how our reliance on the United States is consistently increasing. Well, in 2017, Russia constituted 62% of India's defense imports. In fact, it was 75% in the past. In 2023, Russian supplies account for only 34% of India's defense imports. So, well, nothing wrong. We have to diversify our import. We can't depend only on Russia. But the question here is the difference between Russia and United States in strategic terms. Russia is a time-tested ally of India. We have seen how Russia supported India during the 1971 war. There is a interesting dimension to India-Russian defense cooperation. There is a technology transfer. For instance, Russia exported Sukhoi warplanes to India. Today, India is indigenously manufacturing Sukhoi airplanes. That is an advantage of dealing with India. We just don't buy the equipment, don't buy the arms and armaments, but we also manufacture. India and Russia jointly manufactured the BrahMos missiles, which has proven to be a game changer during the Indo-Pak conflict. Even we are exporting BrahMos missiles. Philippines has placed orders. Some more countries are also showing interest in buying BrahMos missiles. A new manufacturing facility has been recently started near Lucknow. So that is the level of cooperation between India and the United States. But is the United States a similar friend? Well, US doesn't agree for technology transfer. US not only sells arms to India, but it sells to its arch rival Pakistan also. India is selling missiles and projectiles to India. US is selling missiles and projectiles to India. And US even wants to sell F-35 warplanes to India. But the United States is selling F-16 warplanes to Pakistan. What does it mean? India and Pakistan should fight in the skies with American weapons. Well, that is the basic problem. There is also another issue. United States, especially the Trump administration, wants to intervene in India's strategic and foreign policy arena. Well, India strongly and firmly believes in strategic autonomy and autonomy in the foreign policy. But we have seen how the Trump is repeatedly telling, I have stopped the war, I have stopped the war. And Trump wants to mediate between India and Pakistan on the Kashmir issue. But this is not the eccentric, maverick Trump alone doing it. Even President Obama is considered to be a very man of profound insight and knowledge. Even Obama offered to mediate between India and Pakistan on the Kashmir issue, despite knowing pretty well that India doesn't accept that. India's policy is that Kashmir is a bilateral issue and there is no question of third-party intervention. Knowing fully well India's foreign policy position, America repeatedly tries to intervene here. So what will happen if we depend on United States defense supplies? That will have a pressure on our strategic autonomy. Look at how Israel has to agree to Gaza peace plan. Netanyahu certainly doesn't believe in peace with Hamas, and Netanyahu doesn't want to stop the war on Gaza, but is forced to do that because the Trump administration has prevailed over Israel. Israel cannot take any autonomous decision independent of American position. So should India also get into that kind of a strategic embrace with the United States? So in the name of diversification of defense supplies, well, we need to diversify our defense imports. We need not depend on Russia alone. But that doesn't mean we will sacrifice our strategic autonomy. So that is we have to look at the perils of depending on the United States. So recently India has renewed the 10-year defense agreement with the United States, the Strategic Defense Cooperation Agreement. But the problem still remains is as we go on buying arms and equipment from United States, we will only increase our strategic vulnerabilities. So even European allies are thinking about this. Even on F-35, there are several questions. There are also reports that there is a killer switch in F-35, which essentially means America can stop the operation of F-35 whenever it wants. So that is the first thing. Secondly, we have now agreed to buy LPG, liquefied petroleum gas, from United States. In 2024, United States accounted for only 0.6% of India's LPG imports. Now it has come to 10%. Again, what is the argument? The argument is diversification. We need to ensure the energy supplies from diverse sources. Therefore, we are buying LPG from the United States. If it is really the interest of diversification, why did we not do this so far? If really American LPG supplies are so essential for India, why did we not do it till now? The reason is very simple. United States is a far-off country, and importing LPG from United States is certainly a very costly option. But India has agreed to buy, and now LPG supplies from United States account for 10% of India's cooking gas supplies. So that is the second aspect, how we are trying to we're trying to appease Trump's administration's and try to succumb to the Trump's pressures. Then the third aspect is, the Trump has been forcing us to cut down on the Russian oil imports. Well, that has also begun. In October, India's oil import from Russia accounted for only 29%. In the previous months, it was around 36%. If you look at the data in the last 10 months, in 8 months, the Russian oil imports have fallen. So we are reducing Russian oil imports. This is precisely what the Trump has asked for. This is precisely what the Trump has said also. Trump has said recently that Prime Minister Modi agreed to scale down our Russian oil import. This will not happen immediately. It takes time, but systematically this will happen. So what Trump has said is happening today. We are systematically cutting down the Russian oil imports. Well, again, what is the argument? Diversification. Well, that is, we can't depend on Russia alone, because that's always dangerous. But the point here is, if he really wants to diversify, and if we are buying from United States only for the sake of diversification, why can't we buy from Iran and Venezuela? So China is buying from Iran and Venezuela. And before Trump administration's first-term sanctions have come into effect, Iran accounted for 10% of India's oil imports, 10 to 12%. Now it's almost zero. So under the Trump's pressure, we have stopped buying oil from Iran and oil from Venezuela. So, then should we believe that cutting down Russian oil imports is essentially for diversification? Then the fourth aspect is the cotton. Well, Trump has been persistent on opening up of India's agriculture and dairy market. Prime Minister on August 15th said that Modi will remain like a wall to resist such pressures. But what has happened? On 18th of August, just 3 days, within 72 hours, our Prime Minister's assurance from the ramparts of Red Fort, what did happen? The Finance Ministry issued a notification suspending the 11% import duty on cotton. First, it was up to September 30th. Now they have extended to December 31st. Precisely at the time when Indian cotton farmers are bringing their produce to the market. Today we are reading in newspapers that the cotton prices have significantly fallen. Cotton farmers are suffering like anything. They are not getting remunerative prices. Why is this happening? Because we are importing cheap cotton from America and Australia. So this is nothing but succumbing to Trump's pressures. So I've given you the examples of defense, oil, gas, cotton, and not only this, look at what we have done with the Tesla. Well, we have reduced the import duty on luxury vehicles like Harley Davidson, the most favorite of Donald Trump. So Tesla, we have been insisting under the Make in India Atmanirbharta program that unless Tesla manufactures in India, the high import duty will remain. We will not even allow Tesla to come inside. But we have relaxed those rules. Now Tesla is not manufactured in India, but the government of India agreed for the Tesla showrooms to be set up in both Bombay and Delhi, and they are selling Tesla cars in India which are made in China. So made in China Tesla cars are sold in India at the cost of Atmanirbharta. So all these examples, what do they constitute? They simply constitute that the Modi government is slowly and steadily succumbing to Trump administration's pressure. Well, after all these concessions, one fine morning, India and United States will declare the trade deal and claim that the trade deal is beneficial to India. Modi is a strong man. Modi is a muscular nationalist. So look at how Modi negotiated deal with United States, which is beneficial to India. Trump will praise Modi, terrific guy, tough guy. I found him very difficult guy. But already we are succumbed on many aspects. So the series of measures which the Modi government are taking are a clear illustration of how India increasingly compromising on its national interest to appease, to please Donald Trump.